Thank you for the reminder.
Good morning and welcome to our first of 4 webinars for our membership committee chairs throughout the district for this year. On behalf of Kateri Clark and myself, both co-chairs of this year's district membership committee, it is an honor and a pleasure to see all of you here with us this morning. J'aimerais dire aussi, étant donné que notre district est bilingue, nous aimions avoir une séance des sessions en français. Cependant, nous n'avons pas reçu des inscriptions des clubs francophones. Donc, peut-être à l'avenir, si on a besoin, nous allons avoir des sessions en français pour nos clubs francophones. When we talk about membership, membership is not just on the shoulders of the people that we see in front of us. Membership, recruitment, retention, that's everyone's responsibility. We would encourage all of you to invite in future your presidents-elect, or anyone who in your club is interested in learning more about recruiting and retaining the fabulous members that you have in your clubs. We have a few housekeeping rules just to remind everyone. While someone is speaking, we would ask that you keep yourself muted so that we can hear what everyone is saying. We would also encourage you, if you possibly can, to leave your cameras on. This will help our presenters see the reactions and the faces of the people speaking as well. However, it is your choice, depending on what you'd like to do. And one last point, just for interest's sake, if you can rename yourself and let us know what club you're with. It's a nice, broad district that we live and work in. It's nice to know who do we have represented here today. We've got a fabulous list of speakers. I'm looking forward to it myself. I am a membership committee chair in my club, so I'm here to learn as much as to ensure our presenters are well supported. So let's get started. Our first speaker, Paul, was a teacher in Port Hope, Ontario, who retired in 2011 and moved to Kingston. A father of 2 young daughters, he joined Rotary shortly after his move and formed his own charity to feed needy children on weekends, supplementing existing programs that provided food during school days. He's also involved in 2 foundations, is a past president of the Kingston Rotary Club, and co-chaired last year's successful club Centennial Committee. Paul is joined by Sean Quigley, a new member of the Kingston Rotary Club and executive director of Youth Diversion, whose mission is to help youth overcome challenges by providing prevention, intervention, and educational services that divert youth from risk and support their ability to thrive. This morning, we will hear the importance of networking and how to leverage working with our community partners. Please join me in welcoming with his presentation entitled, Why Recruit Community Partners? District Membership Committee member, Paul Elsley.
Thanks very much, Susan, for that warm introduction. And as Susan mentioned, I have invited a new member to our club who is going to work with me and hopefully provide you with a convincing perspective on why you should consider inviting community organizations to join your club as a member. There we go. So I want to start. Sean and I are going to give you a bit of a background that goes back a year or so ago and looks at where we were as organizations to give it some perspective and show you how we began the process of getting to where we are today. So in our case, our club for many, many years focused on 3 community organizations as what we call legacies. And those legacy organizations were the Boys and Girls Club, RKY Camp, and Easter Seals. We were heavily involved in either the founding of or the strengthening of those organizations. Without our efforts, they likely would not have or continue to exist. We were one of the founding members of RKY Camp, the R in RKY standing for Rotary. The Boys and Girls Club was struggling mightily in its early days. And we stepped in and did a lot of fundraising and helped to shore them up. And they've turned into one of probably one of the strongest Boys and Girls Clubs in Canada. And we've been involved in Easter Seals since their beginning. And we've got an Easter Seals committee in our club. However, I guess it was about 4 years ago, we embarked on a community outreach grants program, a new committee we started, trying to broaden our reach in the community and get to know some other organizations and their needs, particularly the small organizations that don't have big fundraising teams associated with them. And that 4-year, typically we would get about 30 grant applications that would come in January. And so you can imagine we got to know so many organizations that we did not know existed before. And so it was at that point we decided to shift our philosophy. Rather than focus all of our energy on those 3 legacy organizations, we no longer do that. They're still important partners, but they are equal partners with all of the other community organizations we began to get to know through the Community Outreach Grants Program. And so that shift in philosophy, I think, was very important because it broadened our outreach in the community, broadened our understanding of the needs of the community, and I think has put us in a different position heading into last year. I'll turn it over now to Sean, who can tell you a little about his program and organization. Sean?
Thanks, Paul. And thanks, Sue, for that wonderful introduction. You pretty much summed us up very nicely. So Youth Diversion has been in existence in the Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington community for over 46 years. Last year, we supported 1,700 young people between the ages of 9 and 24. And that's a 23% increase that we can attribute to COVID and the impact that that's had in our community. We are, as Paul said, a small organization. We are 20 staff, about $1.3 million budget. We have 1 manager, and that's me, and then 18 frontline staff and 1 manager of volunteers. Volunteers make up about, last year, about 280 volunteers participated in our organization, giving us over 5,000 hours worth of volunteer time. So that's a critical component that I'll touch on in a little bit. We have a number of programs that range from early interventions, such as mentoring and cognitive skills, to programs that support kids that are a little bit further down the continuum, so substance use and addiction, youth justice, and then everything in between. Our relationship with Rotary started a number of years ago, again, thanks to Rotary shifting how they distribute funds. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a relationship with Rotary right now. They provided us with a small grant to run some summer programming. And because of that small little introduction, I got to know Paul. And we were successful with a couple of other grants along the way, small grants to help us with summertime programming. Because we're not 100% funded, we do have to do a lot of grant writing and connect to funders in the community. Paul approached me a couple of years ago about my interest in being involved in Paul, help me out again with the Adventures in History, where I was a guest speaker, helping young people understand sort of our approach to youth criminal justice system in Canada, and the importance of understanding and kind of getting rid of some of the myths and stigmas that are attached to young people that unfortunately get themselves caught in the justice system. And then more recently, Paul asked me if I was interested in joining Rotary, and I didn't give it a second thought. For us at Youth Diversion, it was critical to align ourselves with an organization, with a movement that I would say, such as Rotary, to not only give back, but to also help promote the agency with people that would never have come in contact with us. So that's us.
Great. And so let's sort of step back to last year. I was president of the club during our centennial year. And for those of you who might have heard an earlier presentation I gave looking at silver linings in the pandemic and challenges growing into opportunities, you'll recall that I talked about 4 goals that we aligned with our centennial in the hopes of dealing with some issues we were facing and hopefully charting a new course for our club a little bit. And so that involved things like improved collaboration, one of our big goals. That was collaboration amongst the Rotary clubs in Kingston, but equally as important was to improve our collaboration with organizations in the community. And just to give you a classic example, when the pandemic hit, my charity, which had been based in schools, was no longer able to use the schools as our platform. We had to come up with a new model. And so we partnered with the Limestone District School Board, the Catholic School Board, with Lion Hearts, with the Food Sharing Project, in addition to my organization, and obviously Rotary. And those collaborations, I think, went a long way toward building relationships and enhancing partnerships, which was another key goal that we had. We wanted to get to know our organizations better, not just award a grant and then have them come back to us in a year's time. We wanted to build those relationships. But perhaps most importantly, we wanted to increase membership. Like most clubs in North America, our membership had been declining. At one point in time, I guess roughly 15 or 20 years ago, we were at 140. We had shrunk down to about 59 members, I think. We managed to add 1 in 2019 and 2020. But we wanted to try and reverse those patterns. And so the notion of reaching out to other community organizations to consider them as potential members was an important part of our membership strategy. Sean?
Yes. So from my perspective, as a small agency, my board has said to me, you need to create champions. You need to promote the agency. You need to be out in the community and connecting yourself to as many different venues as you can to help people understand the work that we do. During the pandemic, I was part of what was called our Social Recovery Task Force. And it was made up of our local United Way and several agencies planning on how we were going to come out the other end of COVID. And one of the stats that struck me was the amount of agencies in our community. I think it almost works out to 1 community agency per 10 people in Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington, which was an astounding number. And when I said that to Paul, I said, you know what, Paul? There are so many available resources through community organizations. I'm just off the top of my head, 3 of our larger ones employ well over 100 people and have a budget of millions of dollars. And it's an untapped resource, I believe. And agencies like ours want to be included in such amazing initiatives like Rotary. So to me, it's a symbiotic relationship. My involvement with Rotary helps me promote the organization in circles that would have never been there before. And at the same time, I can now say to other agencies the value of being a part of Rotary, which could potentially help increase memberships. So I think there's a huge connection and a real valuable relationship that can be established between Rotary and community services and community agencies.
Thanks, Sean. And so Sean's begun to talk about the value proposition. That is to say, what has happened? How has the relationship changed? How has it made our club or put our club in a stronger position? And I can mention a couple of things already that have become apparent to me. I mean, here we are, Sean's helping with the presentation to district membership chairs. There's a gain already. But he's also allowed us to multiply our connections within the community. So Sean is closely aligned with a number of different organizations, whether it's the police force, the school boards. And so those connections are now becoming part of our network of connections. And because Sean has stronger relationships with some of them, he can help make those introductions with us that will benefit us down the road. He is also, he's got a great list of ideas and new approaches. And he's already begun to bring some of those forward. And it's got us rethinking how we do things. And so those new ideas and approaches, I think, are a great gain for us. And obviously wouldn't have happened if Sean wasn't a member of our club now. Sean, over to you.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been sort of contemplating in my mind, so when we go and get funding, so for example, that was $2,000 that we got a couple of summers ago, that's fantastic. That helps the agency run a summer program, but then it's gone. One of the things that I think might be an interesting thing for Rotary to consider, especially with the work that's been done with those 3 agencies in our community, and I can attest with Paul, because I've been around long enough, I saw the beginnings of the Boys and Girls Club, and they were not going to survive, period, if not for the work that Rotary did. And that got me thinking. One of the things that we struggle with is always trying to find that dollar, and we compete against each other in our community, and it's unfortunate that we have to do that. One of the ideas that I think might be of interest is the notion of helping agencies establish endowment funds. So we have an endowment fund right now where we get to benefit from the interest of that endowment fund. So that, to me, that's funding that will last in infiny. You can give $50,000 to an agency in your community, and they'll be able to hire a staff for 1 year, and then they're continuing to have to struggle to keep that staff for the next year and the year after that. I wonder, wouldn't it be great if Rotary was able to choose a number of organizations in the community and fundraise for them to establish a sustainability fund or an endowment fund that they can then continue to grow and benefit from the interest of that fund that can then provide some sustainability for long term. That's something that is really critical for our agency as we continue to grow our endowment fund. So I think there's an incredible opportunity there. And again, that's another way for the Rotary to then entice community partners to be involved in Rotary and to not only advocate for themselves, but to support the efforts of Rotary. You know, you helped us establish our endowment fund. We want to help you help other agencies establish theirs.
That's great. Thanks, Sean.
Yep.
Sue, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm sure I can speak on behalf of everyone here that we're absolutely jealous about this wonderful relationship that we're seeing. And we are anxiously looking to get into our breakout sessions so we can learn more about how we too can have these kinds of relationships. Perhaps you could clarify what it is we're going to do before we move into it.
Excellent. Yes, very quickly. Please, when you get to your breakout rooms, designate somebody to come back and give a brief report. So you're going to focus on 2 things. One, who are the community organizations that exist in your area? Who can you reach out to? And then secondly, how do you make that pitch? How do you begin the process of convincing them that joining as a member could be a great benefit to Rotary and also to the community organization? So 2 tasks, and designate a reporter, please. We'll come back in about 7 or 8 minutes.
Anna, you're going to move us?
Breakout rooms are open. You will get a notice that you're going into breakout room number 1, 2, etc. Just accept that and you're gone.
Get back in, Anna. I see that we had at least 5 breakout rooms. I'll wait till, oh, there's Paul. Paul, do you want to coordinate the conversations and explain to us how we're going to share our feedback that we received with our groups?
Just quick question, Anna, how many breakout rooms did we have?
5.
5. Okay, so folks, I think the reports are going to have to be 1 minute long. So just give us the top 2 or 3 things that came out of your discussions. Margaret, you were in my group. You want to go ahead and go first?
And please, everyone that is not speaking, if you could mute yourself, that would be great.
We ready? Good. Okay. In terms of who to contact, the big thing was community organizations in your area. And then we talked about how to make that pitch. But in specific, this group seemed to have already considerable contact amongst seniors organizations and youth organizations. And some of the seniors ones have a surprisingly huge amount of potential, actually. You would be amazed how much is there. And I would add to that, seniors, this also gives them an opportunity to contribute themselves and extend their own lifespan and interest in life. The next question, which was the more difficult one to answer, was, well, how do you make the pitch? Certainly, the first thing was to research community organizations, find out what's out there. Secondly, then reach out to some people after they've come to speak to your organization. Don't miss those resources. Many of those people, let me see, have already been involved, have already been tasked to expand their resource base as well. So you may find a meeting of the minds. The next thing was, well, how do you do that? And this part speaks to structure, which I find extremely important. In Kingston's case, the president reaches out with an email. Are you interested? Attaches the a blurb on why you would want to join Rotary. And then there's an initial meeting. You may ask the individual to act even as a guest speaker, or that you may contact them initially because they were a guest speaker. Then there's a follow-up conversation, and they are asked to research Rotary themselves, make sure that that's what they would like to do, to talk to their own boards. And then there is an orientation session when they do come in, which as I said, I find extremely important. That speaks to retention of membership as well as acquisition.
That's great. That's a good synopsis of our session. Somebody else want to jump in?
I'll talk, Paul. I'm with breakout room number 3. We didn't talk so much about organizations because I think that we were all in 3 different places and we have different organizations, but I'll mention Boys and Girls Club, this was mentioned again. One thing is that we also talked about reaching out to the businesses in our area as well. And that was another thing that came out. In terms of making the pitch, the first thing was, well, why don't we invite them as a guest to speak at our clubs? And that's a very good option. And then the other is the grants idea that was also brought up, but it was interesting because Cataraqui Kingston, my understanding is not only do you give the grants, but you also assign a liaison member. So a member from the club is set or identified as a liaison between the club and that organization, and that continues to build the relationship. Inviting partners to our fundraisers and events, and becoming part of a volunteer association network is also was also a suggestion that might be a good one. The big thing was reaching out to either organizations we already have a relationship with or new organizations, just simply asking, how can we help you? And that kind of gets the conversation started often.
That's great. Awesome ideas there. Next up.
Room 2?
I don't know if we're room 2, but I can be next up.
Great.
So organizations that we talked about, Kingsman, Kiwanis, Lions, Boys, Girls Club, Knights of Columbus, in our area in Perth, Community Justice would be worthwhile as taking a link with. And to answer the question, how do you make the pitch? what we want to do is really find out everything that we can about those potential partners. So what are they all about? When they come in to make that presentation, where's the hook? What makes them tick? What do they do and that we do that we can do together and do it beneficially? And how is this going to work with some longevity? So how can we help them do a better job with what is part of their mandate? And then you create that partnership, as we are in many ways, as the presenter mentioned, going after that same dollar. And what we want to do is reinforce that give and take. And the other thing that we talked about was, in order to make the pitch, that we have to really take a look really broadly as how it's beneficial to the community. And once again, that we can unite together to do more with that same cause, so that we're not at cross pitch. So we answered the question, I think, more generally.
That's great. Thanks. More great new ideas. Anna, are we at breakout 3 now, or
4?
4.
Okay. Who's next up? We've got a reporter from breakout room 4.
Nancy, is that you? Room 4?
Okay, while breakout room 4 is waiting to figure out, I'll jump in for breakout room 5. Our group basically had the same partners as has already mentioned. And we also talked about the child and youth services, or mental health services, and our municipal. In terms of our pitch, we help a lot of these organizations, but we don't form the relationships. And we suggested that we build better relationships. They need volunteers. They need connections in the community. We're considered community champions, the people who join Rotary. So there's a lot of win-win. We see that the pitch would be a very easy one, and it just means that we just have to try it.
Great. Thanks, Susan. And I gather my good friend Alicia is going to speak on behalf of room 1.
Apparently I am. Anna put me in this spot. Anyway, we've covered a lot of the same things. I've been listening to everyone, and what our group really focused on was is that collaboration with different groups. We didn't list all the groups, but we talked more about building the relationships. And Chai talked about, I said, how did you do it through the pandemic? And she said, well, Alicia, I had people over to my house. I'd be happy, you know, to invite people into my house and have a coffee. Because of course, through the pandemic, it's very difficult to network and do the face-to-face that we normally would do. She said she would go to banks, to Canadian Tire, to Costco, to different people to get money for different projects. And what she learned when she built the relationships with these people, it was more about, people didn't know about Rotary. They didn't understand it. So there's a stigma, there's still a stigma about Rotary out there. And we need to educate people that Rotary is not about an expensive lunch and a bunch of white men smoking cigars in a back room, as Jay put it. Does anyone have that problem out there? I mean, you know, constantly I said I have it in my own business, so I understand it very well. So trying to educate people about Rotary and understanding what they want and what their needs are, and make it a win-win situation. I think that's what we sort of talked about.
That's great. Yeah.
Alicia, I think to break that stigma, I have to show up more often, don't I?
Yes, you do, Faye. You're going to have to show up every time in order to break that stigma.
Well, that's great. Thank you all for sharing. I think there's some tremendous ideas that came out of those discussions, and I hope you all feel energized to go back to your clubs and start reaching out to community organizations. So just to give you an idea of what's happened in our club, we had 3 community organizations as members prior to this year. We added 6 more, and we're about to add another one. And so that's a total of 10 community organizations that have recently joined as members to our club. And we will continue to look at other community organizations as we do some further research. So there's a real opportunity here, I think, and I wish you all success on that. And with that, I think I've used up all of my time and a bit more, so I'm going to hand it back to Anna.
Actually, back to me. Now, in terms of our last presenter, I am very happy to introduce Anna. She's been a Rotarian for almost 20 years and has taken on a number of executive roles at her club and at the district level. She has been our district membership chair for the last 5+. Membership growth and retention for her is the goal of most clubs, not just in this district, but all over the world. And club membership chairs are therefore essential for club growth and retention of members. Her presentation this morning will focus on one source of new members, the membership leads directed from Rotary International to our district. Please join me in welcoming with her presentation entitled, "How do I handle leads to the club?" Past District Membership Committee Chair, Anna Van Adricam Rochon.
Thank you for that, Susan, and we'll get right into it. And you're not seeing my screen. There we go. So welcome everybody. And I'm glad that you've all been having the opportunity to be here and getting some ideas of what to do with other groups outside. But there is another area that you have potential to get new members, and that is through the membership leads through Rotary International. So we get these leads, and they could be prospective members, they could be relocating members, or they could also be somebody that is decided to put possibly a referral into the system. So what happens after this referral comes, it goes to Rotary International. The lead fills in some information online about themselves, where they live, where they would like to meet with a club. That gets then referred to the district, and at this moment to Susan Delady and to Kateri Clark. They will look at the information that they've received, and then it is referred to the most appropriate club. Perhaps after talking to the individual, whatever the decision is, how to handle it. Then it's referred to the club. And those people at this meeting this morning that are in the system as membership chairs will get notification of a lead. Your club president and the secretary will as well. Your job then is to look at what the lead is and contact them and invite them to the club. So this is what this looks like. So this here is just a sample. So this particular person is being district assigned the candidate to a club, and here's the club name. So it'd be interesting now to see what it looks like, an actual one that came to our district. And you say, well, it never happens to your club. News for you. Ogdensburg, not a very big club, got a lead just this week. Kempville has got leads. Brockville has got leads. Prescott, Hawkesbury. Just in the last year, there were 44 leads to our district. So as I said, the club president, the membership chairs, secretary and executive secretary all have some access, and they get the notification. Not all of them can handle it. Some can only view it, but you can see the president, chair, secretary can all manage it. Very strong recommendation. Make a decision. Who is going to be the contact? I would suggest the membership chair, so that you don't have 3 or 4 people doing the job. and also confusing the lead. Of the people who asked to join the Rotary Club, 63% are under 40. And we're always saying we want younger people. Under 40 sounds younger. And 35% are women. How does that compare to the normal members of Rotary? 5% of Rotarians are under 40 and only 21% are women. We're talking about Rotary in the world. Half of the potential members indicate that they have heard about Rotary through a personal connection. So engaging them when you offer them your club is a real opportunity to diversify and better reflect the club that you serve. Last year, Rotary districts received 18,000 leads. So there's a lot of leads that all involve prospective members, referrals, or relocating. Only about 800 were admitted to the clubs. When we don't respond, we are missing opportunities. And if we just leave them hanging, by the time somebody does get connected with them, perhaps 6 months later or never, or some other time that they just meet them, they're saying, no, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. And there was a prospect that we spoke to that after there was no contact, instead they went and joined the Kiwanis. So this district has made a pledge that there will be no referral that is not contacted. And I think that's been going on for a while. So make sure you respond to all the inquiries. And of course, the district will sign these leads. I'm just going to scroll through for the sake of timing. This is what one of the screens would look like. You can see when you receive the referral, you're going to go in and change it. This is a screenshot of referrals that we have received over the last while. You can see Ottawa received one, Ottawa South. I know it's quite small, but just to let you know that they are coming in, but we need you to make the change of the status. So input your name, the date, and what you've done. So in other words, invited them to the club, or as time goes on, made them a club member. So when you click on the person's name, in this case, Mona Lisa, you will see the details that this person has provided. And please note that there is a Rotary ID number. So when Mona Lisa gets to be a member, you'll be using this ID number and you can go right back into this record to make her a member of your club. You can see all the history as time goes by. And I just want to make sure that you know, and I will stop sharing. I just want you to know that there's great opportunities just by the leads that are coming into our district and taking a few minutes of your time to contact them, preferably by phone, by text, or absolutely the last resort by email, to say you're invited to come and meet us, find out if this club is the one that has the right culture for you. And when you've done that, making sure that you go into the system again to add them using the ID number. Otherwise, there will be two records of the same person. Of course, that can be put together again in the future. But the whole thing is being aware that these exist. And when the district knows that your club is interested in new members and is following up with them, we're more likely to direct a lead that says they want Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and we have 3 clubs that we could send them to. If we know that this Club X will definitely follow up. We're more than likely sending it to Club X that we know that will do the work. That's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Can you go back to that slide? Sorry, the slide with the numbers on it? I'd just like to write them down. The numbers of how many got it and how many responded, etc.
How about if just remind me who you are, and then I didn't see your name when you popped up, and I can just send you the slide.
Sure, Margaret.
Margaret. Actually,
Passport.
Margaret and everyone else, I can send the PowerPoint presentation to everyone at the end of the meeting along with the recording. How's that?
I think that would be excellent. Thank you very much.
And not only that, it has all the notes on it as well, so that you can refer to them in the future.
Exactly. It's a good tool for beating people over the head.
Yes. Okay.
Anna?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I got the answer clearly, but in all of our communities with multiple clubs, you make the predetermination, and it might be the person choosing the day and time they wish to participate, but you send it out exclusively. You're not sending it out to 3 choices of clubs for that individual to then be interviewed by 3 different clubs, for example.
Okay, I'll put it this way. If it is a club that, or sorry, if it is into a community where there's 2 or 3 clubs that might be eligible or meet the person's criteria, we will give them the name of those 3 particular clubs and suggest that they visit the 3 clubs, because every club has a different culture and perhaps the interest. If somebody is interested in the environment, and we know a club has more of a focus on environment, we'll suggest that one, but please visit the other 2 clubs. You might be a better match. So there's a lot, still a lot of information being shared, and strongly suggesting to check others. But yes, we do then make a decision on one and give them the others as well.
Great.
Susan?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, because I was doing the follow-ups, normally if somebody says something very general like Kingston area, I usually contact them and ask them, do they have any specific choices for day, morning, night? And usually they do. And then I see if there is a club that has that same timing. But if they don't, we had one person suggest a time that we didn't have any clubs in the Ottawa area for that. Then I gave her the list of the Ottawa clubs with the various times and days to say, does any of these act as a second choice? So we at the district do make connection with that person. We don't just arbitrarily send it on.
Yes, thank you, Susan, for that clarification. Yes, right on. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's Ron Wellert here. So just a follow-up question on just the screening criteria for the assignment of leads. So so it sounds like it's primarily based on location and then meeting time preference, if you will. So the question I have is, are there people who are looking for specific times that either we don't have a good coverage from a club perspective, or are there specific clubs that really are just never qualifying because we've picked the wrong time frame from a meeting perspective?
Susan, do you want to handle that?
It's a really good point, Ron. I mean, if somebody is looking for a club to for a meeting on Tuesday noon or Wednesday morning or Friday morning, and there isn't a club in that area, then that is a flag. If that comes up often enough, that either indicates that this is a good time for people, and maybe it's a good opportunity to discuss, is anyone interested in having alternate meetings at that time? Because I know some clubs have their regular club meeting, but have also got alternate for their members. Maybe we could look at alternate for their for guests as well. But it's a good point. There's good information. That's why if we don't have a club at present, I ask them, what's your second choice? But it's good information to track.
But also a comment is, there's many times that when there's a referral that comes in, it will specify a community. So you might get Pembroke, you might get Ogdensburg, you might get Plattsburgh. So there isn't a whole bunch of choices there. You might want Tuesday morning, but that particular club meets on Wednesday. And of course, right now with everybody on Zoom, you can be anywhere in the world. But when things are in person, that's a different issue.
And don't forget the Passport Club, because that's an avenue as well for people who are not able to attend meeting at certain time. And the Passport Club meet once a month. So,
Faye, that is true. And not only that, I have passed on a good number of referrals to the Passport Club.
I would say we've received several that have joined because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We're coming to the close. I did see that Shay perhaps has one last question before we wrap up.
Well, thank you, Sue, and thank you, Anna, for your time and for gathering us and sharing information. I just would like to say that membership is very complex in terms of recruiting, retention, and engaging people. People may be members, but they're disengaged. So these are the layers that as Rotarians, whether we are president or whatever other role we play, we have to work on. One of the things I would like to suggest that the district and Rotary International provides more details how they spend the money on the projects, because that will give us important information to share with people when we go to talk. I talk to a lot of organizations and a lot of groups to raise money for my club. And I did that for 4.5 years as a chair of the International Service Committee. And to be able to link the club to the district, to the Rotary International, completes the circle of the work we do locally and internationally. And we need to pull on their hearts the need that exists out there and what we're trying to do, so they can participate and donate. So I think the district and Rotary International can provide more details where the money's going, so we can use that information when we go around to publicize who we are and what we do as an extended team, not just our club, our district, but Rotary International, and complete the picture to them as the task and what we're trying to do locally and abroad. Thank you.
I have seen the reports from the foundation that have a complete breakdown of where all the money is being spent. So which club are you with, Che?
I'm the Rotary Club of Ottawa.
Okay, Ottawa. Okay. I'll see if I can find you the link.
Thank you.
Because it was quite recently that I did see that. So, okay.
And anybody can go and have coffee at Che at her home.
Yes, right? Anytime. And I'm an economist by trade, but I'm a chef by heart. So there'll be always something on the table to eat.
All right, good. You got me there.
Back to you, Susan.
Thank you very much. And I would like, before we do our wrap up, let's give a huge round of applause to both Paul and Anna for sharing their time, their knowledge, their experience with us today.
Yay.
What a fabulous presentation. But there's more. And here to close off our meeting and talk about what's coming for the future, please join me in welcoming my co-chair of the District Membership Committee, Kateri Clark.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. Well, I hope that you really enjoyed today and got something out of it. I think it's always great to start the year off with some inspiration. And yeah, Paul, thank you so much. You and Sean, you guys just really got us started on a great note. I'll just note that this is the first of a series. So we are going to be meeting once a quarter over this year. and offering our membership chairs the opportunity to come together, talk, and get some great presentations or discuss topics. So I just remind everyone, note on your calendars, the next meeting is October the 23rd. October the 23rd. Again, it's a Saturday at 9 a.m. It seems to be a good time for everybody. So that's, I hope that you'll all come. The other thing is that Susan and I are here for you. We're here to support you. And if you have ideas or you're having a particular issue, or you just want to talk about something, please feel free to reach out to us. You can do that on the Rotary 7040 website. Our information, our contact, you click on the link, it sends me an email, and I'd be happy to respond to that. And Susan and I are happy to be here for everybody. So and I know the other thing I wanted to also mention, just to keep an eye out for, is that we're going to be starting some new member orientation sessions. And these are going to be like what we call Ask Me Anything sessions. So basically, any new members from across the district can come, and there'll be some knowledgeable Rotarians there, and they can be asked any kind of question related to Rotary. What question do you have about Rotary? And then the Rotarians can answer those questions. So we're going to be doing those on a quarterly basis. So just keep an eye out for those. So thank you so much, everybody. I really hope that you've enjoyed the session. It's been useful for you. Please keep up the conversation over the year. And I look forward to all that has to come in terms of membership and Rotary and in our district this year. So thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you. Would there be a chance to meet in person in October, you think, you guys?
Oh, good question. Anything's possible, right?
Okay.
Anything is possible. I just want to remind everyone, though, that we are a very large district. So, for example, members from Iqaluit will never be able to come. So it'll be important that we also make an opportunity for all the clubs to join in. And not be asking people to drive 5 hours. So, right. Yes. All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you very much, Susan, for hosting us today. Yay.
Awesome.
And we will be sending out the copy of the recording to everyone and the answers to those questions and the PowerPoint. So watch your email.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
We can probably stop. We can stop recording.
Thank you.
You can stop recording, Anna.
Yes, thank you.
Great.
Thank